Some seasons hurt most because nothing looks broken from the outside, and yet inside you feel the strain of carrying unanswered prayers, postponed hopes, and the quiet ache of not knowing when life will finally move. You can be grateful and still be tired. You can be faithful and still feel worn thin by waiting. You can tell yourself to be calm, to be patient, to trust, and still feel that private tremor underneath it all, the one that wonders whether the silence means no, whether the pause means you missed your moment, whether everyone else somehow received the map while you were left standing in a hallway that keeps getting longer. That feeling is more human than you have allowed yourself to admit. Waiting does something to the heart. It stretches your tenderness. It tests the stories you tell yourself. It brings your deepest fears right up to the surface, not because you are weak, but because uncertainty has a way of pressing on every place in you that still believes love must be chased, timing must be controlled, and worth must be proven by visible progress. So when nothing is changing, your mind gets loud. It starts narrating. It says maybe you are behind. Maybe you asked for too much. Maybe the thing you wanted has already passed you by. Maybe this silence is the answer. And the more you listen to those thoughts, the more the waiting stops feeling like a season and starts feeling like a sentence. But stay with me here, because this is the shift that can soften everything. Not every delay is a denial. Not every closed door is a loss. Not every empty space is empty. There are seasons when life is not withholding from you. It is arranging for you. It is clearing what would have confused you. It is loosening what would have trapped you. It is creating room in you, around you, and ahead of you for something steadier than what you would have chosen in your fear. That does not always feel comforting at first. In fact, it can feel almost insulting when you are hurting. Because when you are tired of waiting, the last thing you want is another polished sentence about divine timing. You do not need a decorative quote. You need relief. You need something real enough to hold when the nights feel long, and your mind keeps trying to turn uncertainty into evidence against yourself. So let me say something clearly. The wait is not asking you to become less human. It is asking you to become less at war with where you are. There is a difference. You do not have to float through this season with a saintly smile and perfect trust. You do not have to pretend the ache is beautiful every minute. You do not have to perform peace. You only need to stop confusing the absence of immediate movement with the absence of meaning. Because so much of what changes your life begins invisibly. Roots deepen before branches rise. Patterns break before new choices feel natural. Your heart learns what it will no longer beg for long before the visible evidence arrives. And the universe, if you want to call it that, is often far quieter than your fear. It does not usually announce its preparation with fireworks. It works in subtler ways. A conversation that does not happen. An opportunity that falls through. A wave of exhaustion that finally forces you to stop chasing. A truth you can no longer ignore. a peace that begins to matter more than the thing you thought you needed. These are not glamorous moments, but they are often the beginning of everything. The hard part is that your nervous system does not naturally interpret silence as preparation. It usually interprets silence as danger. That is why waiting can feel so intense even when nothing dramatic is happening. Your mind is trying to protect you from uncertainty, so it starts scanning for answers, rehearsing outcomes, replaying conversations, inventing timelines, and searching for one magical sign that would let you finally relax. It means well. It really does. But protection can become pressure when it does not know how to rest. And then you find yourself doing strange little things with your energy. You overread delays. You assign meaning to every small shift. You reach for people, places, or plans that do not feel fully mutual, just to escape the discomfort of not knowing. You start negotiating with life. Maybe if I try harder. Maybe if I stay available enough. Maybe if I become more lovable, more disciplined, more healed, more patient, more impressive, then things will finally move. And underneath all of that effort is the same exhausted belief. If I can control the timing, I can control the pain. Sweetheart, that belief is understandable. It is also the belief that drains you. Because the moment you treat waiting like an emergency, you stop listening to what the season is trying to teach you. And what this season often teaches is not how to force an answer. It teaches you how to become safe in your own company, while the answer is still forming. That matters more than it sounds. Many people think the hardest part of waiting is not getting what they want. Often the harder part is having to sit with themselves without the distraction of movement, without the chase, without the fantasy, without the next tiny crumb of hope to obsess over. Just you, your thoughts, your body, your old patterns, your unhealed urgency, and the deep invitation to love yourself before the outcome arrives. That is where the work becomes sacred. Not grand, not dramatic, sacred. Because when you stop using the future as permission to feel okay, something begins to settle. You breathe differently. You choose differently. You stop calling chaos chemistry. You stop confusing intensity with alignment. You stop treating your anxiety like intuition in a costume. And yes, sometimes your anxiety really does put on a wise little hat and pretend to be guidance. It is very committed to the role, but urgency is not always truth. Sometimes it is just fear with excellent branding. And here is what most people miss. The universe does not prepare something better only by changing external events. It also prepares something better by changing you, by softening your attachment to what cannot nourish you, by increasing your tolerance for honesty, by making peace feel more attractive than drama, by teaching you that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to receive it. That kind of preparation can feel boring to the part of you that wants the grand reveal, but it is powerful. It is the reason a delayed answer can one day feel like rescue. It is the reason the thing that once felt unbearable to lose can later feel completely misaligned. It is the reason you may look back and realize the wait was not empty time. It was the bridge between who you were when you would have settled and who you are becoming now. So how do you move through a season like this without becoming bitter, numb, or obsessed? You do it gently, you do it honestly, and you do it with a structure simple enough that your heart can actually use it when fear gets loud. I call it the quiet readiness method. 3 small movements. Soften. Notice. Stay available. That is all. Not perform. Not force. Not decode every sign in the sky and every delayed text message like you are employed full-time by the Department of Cosmic Interpretation. Just soften, notice, and stay available. Soften means you stop tightening around the timeline. Not because timelines do not matter to you, but because gripping harder does not make life kinder. When you soften, you loosen the story that says things must happen now or something is wrong. You unclench around the need to understand every delay in real time. You let your shoulders drop. You let your jaw release. You let on. A breath be enough for this moment. This is not giving up. It is ending the fight with the present. Notice means you become curious instead of panicked. You notice what the waiting is bringing up. You notice where your body contracts. You notice which fantasies keep you attached. You notice the patterns that appear whenever certainty goes missing. Do you chase? Do you spiral? Do you try to become more pleasing? Do you abandon your own rhythm to stay emotionally available to something that has not truly chosen you? Noticing is powerful because it returns you to reality, not the story. Reality, and reality is often kinder than the story fear tells. Stay available means you remain open but not desperate. You do not close your heart and declare that nothing good is coming. You also do not stand at the window of your life pressing refresh every 6 seconds. You live. You tend to your day. You let beauty touch you in small places. You answer what is here while staying open to what is next. Availability is not the same as grasping. It is a calm kind of readiness, a clean space inside you, a willingness to receive without begging. That is the framework. Soften. Notice. Stay available. Simple enough to remember when your mind is noisy. Kind enough to use when your heart is sore. And now let us make it real, because insight matters most when it can meet you in ordinary life. Start with soften. Pick one moment each day when you usually tense around the future. Maybe it is right after you wake up. Maybe it is when you see someone else moving forward and compare their life to yours. Maybe it is in the evening when the quiet gets heavier and your mind starts reaching for answers. In that moment, do not try to become enlightened. Just pause. Put one hand on your chest or your stomach. Let your exhale be slightly longer than your inhale, and ask yourself, what am I tightening against right now? Not what is my 5-year plan. Not what lesson does the cosmos want to teach me in 12 symbolic chapters. Just what am I tightening against right now? Maybe the answer is, I am tightening against the fear that nothing is coming. Maybe it is, I am tightening against being unseen. Maybe it is, I am tightening against the idea that I cannot control this. Good. That honesty is enough. Then offer yourself one softer sentence, something like, I do not have to solve this minute, or I can be here without predicting the worst, or this pause is uncomfortable, but it is not proof against me. These are not magic spells. They are emotional handrails. They help your body understand that uncertainty is present, but danger is not necessarily in the room. Now notice. This step works best when you stop asking only, when will it happen, and start asking, what is this season showing me about how I respond when I cannot know? That question can change everything. Because maybe this season is showing you that you confuse longing with loyalty. Maybe it is showing you that silence makes you chase people who are already inconsistent. Maybe it is showing you that you are kinder to strangers than you are to yourself when life feels delayed. Maybe it is showing you that you keep outsourcing your peace to outcomes that have not arrived. None of this is an accusation. It is information. And information is kind when you use it lovingly. Try this as a small experiment. The next time you feel the urge to check, recheck, or mentally rehearse the same uncertain situation, pause before you do it. Notice what your body feels like first. Is there tightness in your throat, a drop in your stomach, heat in your chest, a buzzing restlessness in your hands? Name it plainly. My body is looking for certainty. That naming matters. Because once you name the urge, you create a little space between you and the pattern. And in that space, you can choose something different. Maybe you still check. That is okay. This is not about perfection. Maybe you simply notice before you check. That is already a new relationship with yourself. Now stay available. This is where waiting becomes less like suspension and more like participation. Being available does not mean staring at the door. It means living as someone who trusts that life is still in conversation with them. Open the curtains. Answer the email. Make the soup. Take the walk. Buy the flowers before the special occasion arrives. Clean the small corner of your room that keeps catching your eye. Text the friend who leaves you feeling steadier, not more confused. Read something that reminds you your inner world deserves nourishment even before the outer answer appears. These small acts are not distractions from your real life. They are your real life. There is another small practice that can help when the waiting starts to make you feel powerless. Choose one part of your day that is fully yours and treat it with reverence. It does not have to be dramatic. It can be the way you make your bed, the way you wash your face, the way you step outside for 2 minutes and let the air touch your skin without multitasking your emotions into 10 future scenarios. The point is not the activity, the point is the message. I am still here. I still belong to my own life. I do not disappear just because the answer is not here yet. That kind of ordinary devotion repairs something important. Waiting often makes people leave themselves in subtle ways. They stop decorating the day they are in because they are mentally living in the day they hope is coming. They stop honoring what is already alive because they are measuring everything against what has not arrived. They stop listening to their own needs because the future has become louder than the present. But your present self is not a placeholder. Your current life is not a lobby. This hour matters, this body matters, this version of you matters, even before the breakthrough, the invitation, the clarity, the relationship, or the next chapter becomes visible. Try another experiment. When your mind says, "Once this happens, then I will relax," gently answer back, what would relaxing by 1% look like now? Maybe it means unclenching your hands. Maybe it means eating before your blood sugar turns your spiritual journey into a personal feud with humanity. Maybe it means taking a slow shower and letting the water interrupt the story that says your life is stalled. Maybe it means admitting that the thing you are waiting for has quietly become an idol, and you are ready to put it back into human proportion, not because it does not matter, but because your soul deserves room around it. This is how trust becomes practical, not as a grand declaration, but as repeated moments of returning to yourself. A returned breath, a returned boundary, a returned appetite, a returned willingness to let today be today. And over time, those tiny returns create stability. They teach your body that uncertainty does not automatically require self-abandonment. They teach your mind that unanswered questions can exist without becoming total emotional occupation. They teach your heart that longing can be held with tenderness rather than panic. That is when waiting begins to lose its cruel edge, because the season is no longer only about the thing you want. It also becomes about the relationship you are building with yourself while you want it. And that relationship will shape everything that comes next. If you receive the thing while still believing your peace must be sacrificed to keep it, you will suffer inside the very answer you once prayed for. If you enter the next chapter still addicted to urgency, you will bring the old atmosphere into a new room. So yes, life may be preparing something better for you, but it may also be preparing you to stop calling bare survival a normal way to live. That shift is powerful. It changes what you call in, yes, but even before that, it changes what you tolerate. A person who is softly present with themselves waits differently than a person who is panicking. A person who notices their patterns settles less often for confusion. A person who stays available to life rather than fixated on one outcome, becomes easier to guide. And let me lighten this for a second, because sometimes the waiting gets so serious that you start acting like your future is a customer service complaint you need to escalate. You are not on hold with the universe listening to spiritual elevator music while muttering representative, representative, representative. You are alive. You are in process. And process is messy, tender, and occasionally very inconvenient. That does not mean it is wrong. Now I know what you might be thinking. It sounds beautiful, but what if the waiting has already gone on too long? What if you are tired in a way that soft language cannot fix? Then let me meet you there, honestly. Sometimes the deepest pain of waiting is not impatience. It is humiliation. It is the quiet shame of having hoped for something that did not come when you expected. It is watching yourself remain open while part of you wants to shut down and say, "Never mind, I did not need it anyway." It is feeling foolish for caring. It is wondering whether trust has made you naive. That pain deserves tenderness, because the heart does not become dramatic just because it longs. The heart becomes frightened when it does not know whether it is safe to keep longing without losing itself. That is the real question underneath so much waiting. Not just, when will it happen? But can I stay open without abandoning myself? Yes. Yes, you can. But only if you stop making the wait a test of your worth. This is the permission moment, and I want you to hear it without rushing past it. You do not need to earn what is meant for you by exhausting yourself in the meantime. You do not need to prove your devotion by overthinking. You do not need to prove your goodness by staying available to what keeps you anxious. You do not need to perform patience so beautifully that life finally rewards you. You are allowed to stop straining toward what has not arrived. You are allowed to stop monitoring every silence. You are allowed to stop translating every delay into a personal flaw. You are allowed to rest your nervous system even while the answer is still on its way. You are allowed to laugh today, to sleep tonight, to enjoy your coffee, to turn your phone over, to go outside, to leave the question unanswered for a few hours without fearing that your peace will somehow cancel your blessings. Read that again inside yourself. Your peace does not cancel your blessings. Your rest does not repel what is aligned. Your self-respect does not delay what is genuine. In fact, for many people, this is exactly what changes the quality of what they can receive. Because when you stop gripping, you become clearer. When you stop performing, you become easier to recognize. When you stop begging life to hurry, you can finally hear what life has been showing you all along. Some things were never late. They were wrong. Some doors were never delayed. They were protective closures. Some attachments were never sacred. They were familiar. There is a difference. And once you feel that difference in your body, not just in your thoughts, you begin to trust the wait in a new way. Not because waiting becomes fun. Let us not get theatrical. Nobody wakes up and says, "Wonderful, another season of emotional ambiguity, exactly what I ordered." But waiting can become cleaner, less sticky, less personal, less full of self-accusation. You begin to understand that the pause is not always against you. Sometimes it is for your nervous system, for your clarity, for the version of you that can hold the next thing without shrinking around it. This is especially important if you have spent years chasing what felt uncertain because uncertainty felt familiar. Many people do this without realizing it. They call it chemistry. They call it ambition. They call it faith. But underneath, it is often an old pattern that says love must be earned, peace must be postponed, and certainty only arrives after enough emotional labor. The wait can interrupt that pattern. It can bring you face to face with the part of you that wants to earn arrival by suffering. And then, very quietly, it can invite you into a different relationship with life. One where what is for you can meet you in dignity. One where clarity matters more than drama. One where the next chapter does not require you to become smaller, louder, prettier, more pleasing, or more endlessly available. Just more present, more honest, more willing to stop chasing what depletes you just because it once felt important. And here is the deeper truth that often reveals itself only after the ache softens. Trusting the wait is not really about trusting time. It is about trusting that your life is not only being shaped by what you can see. It is about trusting that unseen preparation still counts. That inner changes are real changes. That becoming able to receive something healthy is just as meaningful as wanting it. That the universe may be less interested in rushing your preferences and more interested in protecting your wholeness. This is not passive thinking. It is not a way to avoid action. If there is a clear step to take, take it. If there is a conversation to have it. If there is a boundary to set it. If there is support you need, seek it. But after you have done what is yours to do, let the rest breathe. Do not turn waiting into punishment. Do not make uncertainty your identity. Do not crown your fear as the wisest voice in the room. Let your wiser self speak too, the one who knows that not all movement is progress, the one who knows that haste can look like courage when it is really discomfort in a fancy coat, the one who knows that what lasts often enters quietly. Maybe that is what this season has been trying to teach you, that what is better does not always arrive with the same electricity as what is familiar. Sometimes it arrives with calm, with mutuality, with less guessing, with less performing, with more room to breathe. And because it feels calmer, a frightened part of you may almost miss it at first. That is why this season matters. It is refining your taste for peace. It is helping you recognize nourishment instead of only intensity. It is showing you that the right thing for you may not inflame your old patterns. It may soothe them. It may feel less like a chase and more like a meeting, less like proving and more like receiving. So when the waiting feels heavy again, return to the 3 small movements. Soften. Notice. Stay available. Soften your grip on the timeline. Notice the stories and sensations that rise when certainty is absent. Stay available to life as it is now, not only as you want it to become. Make tea, open the window, take one honest breath. Ask yourself whether the thing you are longing for actually feels like peace, or whether it mostly feels like familiar tension. Be brave enough to answer, and then bless yourself with gentleness. Not because you have mastered this, because you are learning. That matters. Learning to wait without self-abandonment is a profound form of healing. Learning to want without worshiping the outcome is maturity. Learning to remain open without becoming desperate is strength. And yes, there will still be days when your mind runs ahead and your heart gets sore and the silence feels personal again. That does not mean you failed. It means you are human. Come back. Again and again. Come back. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Come back to what is true in this exact moment. You are here. You are held by your own awareness. You are not behind in the only way fear knows how to measure. You are becoming. Quietly, perhaps. Invisibly, perhaps. But truly, one day some part of this will make sense in a way it cannot yet. And until then, meaning is still possible. Peace is still possible. A life that is tender and real is still possible. Not later, now. So let this be the truth you carry from here. The silence around you does not mean life has gone still on your behalf. The wait is not proof that you have been forgotten, and the better thing being prepared for you may not only be a person, an opportunity, or an answer. It may also be a steadier you. A you who no longer has to panic to feel connected. A you who no longer mistakes pressure for destiny. A you who can receive with open hands because you are no longer clenching from fear. That is not small. That is a different life. So be gentle with yourself tonight. Trust what you cannot yet measure. Let the unanswered parts rest beside you without turning them into a verdict. Something can be forming even when it is quiet. Something can be better even if it arrives later than your frightened mind preferred. Something can be meant for you without needing your constant tension to keep it alive. And if these words landed somewhere tender in you, stay with that tenderness. Protect it. Listen to it. Let it remind you that you are allowed to wait with dignity. You are allowed to live before the answer arrives. You are allowed to believe that what is truly for you can find you without your fear dragging it to the door. Trust the why, my love. Not because waiting is easy, because you are learning that peace is part of the preparation too.